Welcome to my next video blog. I'm here in Hobart, Tasmania. It's cool and fresh. I'll show you when I finish what it looks like out the window. So, what shall I talk with you today? Gestalt's about awareness, so we're not really interested in digging into what's sort of unconscious or the iceberg metaphor that's sometimes used in psychology, sometimes in psychoanalysis, where the tip of the iceberg is what is in your conscious mind and everything else is in your unconscious mind. And I mean, that's a metaphor that's, I guess, useful to some people and in some approaches. In Gestalt, the metaphor that Fritz Perls gave is the ball of a ball floating in the water, turning over. So what's exposed, the top of the ball that's exposed above the water, is what we're aware of, and what is underneath is what we're not aware of. So it's a dynamic image, so that constantly we're aware of some things and they're going out of awareness and other things are coming into our awareness. That's part of the so-called figure ground process in Gestalt. Things become figural and other things merge into the ground, and that's completely fluid. And of course, some things we habitually put out of awareness. There's no doubt about that. They're too uncomfortable, and we've all got our unique ways of avoiding awareness, of putting things out of awareness. So Gestalt is about awareness, and it's about noticing what's currently in my awareness, and then it's by following that thread, then other things come into awareness. And what's interesting is that the things that are out of awareness, all sorts of feelings, maybe from past experiences or traumas or whatever it is, if we pay attention to what's present, to present phenomena, then remarkably quickly what's been hidden from awareness or what's been avoided or suppressed naturally comes to the surface. So this is an inherent part of how we work in Gestalt, and it's part of the magic, if you like, of the Gestalt process. And that's why working with awareness is so incredibly popular. So that is facilitated by the Gestalt therapist, sort of putting the spotlight of awareness on the person, particularly on a somatic level, bringing them into the present, noticing the ways they stop their awareness, the breathing, or whatever else that is. So that's the facilitation of awareness. To live Gestalt means somehow doing that for myself, facilitating my own awareness. Now that's difficult because there's all the things I avoid habitually or in the moment. So part of the attitude, I think, of living Gestalt, of being committed to personal growth, if you want to put it that way, is about being interested in the things that are out of my awareness that other people might see. Because that's often what happens. We tuck away lots of things from our awareness, but other people often pick them up, sometimes with less clarity, but usually there's some grain of truth in their feedback. So that's where, particularly say in a relationship or intimate relationship, it's very valuable to get feedback from the other person about what might be out of our awareness. And what's necessary here is an attitude of humility, of a willingness to accept that I don't know everything about myself, and some of the ideas I have about myself or some of the things I focus on, while they're true, also miss out a lot of other elements. And that's how a lot of fights and disagreements and differences occur in relationship, because we each have a different viewpoint, and often there's this kind of argument between viewpoints. Another alternative, though, is to be really interested in the viewpoint of your partner, even if that's kind of confronting, because that represents something that might be out of our awareness. And so this attitude I certainly find quite helpful, though it's difficult to adopt sometimes, to when the other person is presenting me with something, to say, oh, well, I wasn't aware of that. So that's not a defense, that's an acknowledgement. And then, if you've got the good attitude, you can follow that up by saying, and thanks for helping me be aware of that. Now, of course, the tone of the other person is more or less helpful. But if we're really committed to our own growth, then even if the tone isn't fantastic in the way it's delivered, there's still the opportunity to be willing to examine myself, because that is in a way what I'm interested in, what I'm committed to is the life of awareness, and the places where I go out of awareness are generally, they're not always problematic. I mean, we all go out of awareness in pleasant ways. I mean, some people do it through drugs or alcohol, but, just watching a movie, we're focused on the movie and we're bracketing awareness of whatever else might be in our lives. That's the pleasantness of the escape. Lots of normal, natural, healthy ways to do that. However, it's some of the ways we go out of awareness are problematic because they diminish our living and they diminish our experience of self. And so in Gestalt, we're interested in expanding that. So that also brings me to this question of the kind of commitment of personal growth. So people come to therapy because they've got problems or recurring problems or acute problems and they want help solving them. But is sometimes when those problems are addressed, then people go, thanks very much, and move on. Well, that's fine. And yet the potential of Gestalt, well, I guess of many therapies, but I'm talking about Gestalt, is as a vehicle for personal growth, not just for fixing problems. That requires, though, a different kind of attitude and a commitment, really, to doing that in my life. And sometimes I use therapy to help me do that, and sometimes I'm using other ways to do that. The frustration I have sometimes is where people are maybe in a lot of pain or facing a very challenging situation, and yet I guess they want someone else to fix it, or they're willing just to suffer it. And that's quite painful to watch, I have to say. And working with them is not facilitated by that kind of attitude. I mean, I think it's good to want to live a fuller life that's not embedded in the kind of destructive patterns which sometimes we get caught in. But that takes work, and I do see therapy as work, just as much work as digging a ditch or writing an essay or something. It's a particular kind of work. It's a work that kind of needs to make you sweat, in a sense, metaphorically, where you're really going to the edge of awareness and being willing to keep treading there. And a lot of people don't want to do that, but I'm talking to you who are interested in doing that, because I think that requires this sort of attitude and willingness. It's not just about raking over the coals, and it's not just about reliving suffering. It's actually much, much more than that. It's a willingness to go through what's difficult in order to come out the other side, in a way, the transformative journey. So therapy can be that journey, however it represents a larger life journey. And that's what I'm really fundamentally interested in with people, not just addressing their particular problems, bringing more awareness and hoping to involve them, engage them in a life which is more examined, more reflective, more aware, and in that sense much fuller. So that's not something I can foist on people. I mean, either someone's got the openness and interest to do that or not. And I can tell with the people who come to see me how much that's true. Now, what's really exciting for me as a therapist is the clients who come, and I have a number of clients in recent times who are like this, who really are willing to commit their time and energy and money and life energy into working on themselves. And what's been really gratifying for me with a number of these people is to see the results. I mean, within within a short period of time, 6 to 8 months, relatively short, I've seen incredible transformations in these people. And I mean, that's my input, expertise, skill, and it's very much also, I think, their attitude and their commitment. So in that sense, therapy is very much like a working partnership, and it requires, like any partnership, two people working well together. And so, I've got the commitment, I'm there, and so it's really up to clients to bring themselves into that situation. Now, not all clients can. They're fragile, or they're traumatized, or they have lots of difficulties, and they're not maybe at that point. Yet, I think that there's something about a kind of an attitude which makes a difference. That's what I'm saying, and which, makes me very hopeful when I see those kind of situations where people really demonstrate that kind of commitment. But yes, not everybody has the time or the money or whatever else it takes. However, I think the attitude is also very keen, and it's not just an attitude, oh, I'm going to transform myself. It's something much deeper. It's a willingness to look at what has been outside of awareness, and to be willing to bear that awareness. Even with support, that's quite difficult. I think I would judge that to be a brave act, and I think that that's a key part of what makes therapy successful, and what allows people to bring Gestalt in their day-to-day life. So that's my piece for today. I did say I'd take you outside at sun setting, but I'll show you the river, Derwent River here in Hobart, Tasmania. There we go. It's quite beautiful. So, that's me signing off till another time.